AI for the rest of us is a simple sales pitch that Winston just explained to me. It's also in direct opposition to ChatGPT and Microsoft's Copilot, a professional productivity tool at its core. It's the real world out there, and the real world doesn't really make PowerPoints. The real world needs like texting, photo fixing, digesting news and noise and planning parties and golden retriever mix-ups and that kind of thing, traffic, weather, and everything else. Now, by the end of this video, you will understand how AI is going to transfer the biggest stock in the world and how you can profit from it. Before we dive deeper, I want you to learn how to make money from your money. And it took me years to figure this out. And when I figured it out, well, I now run a small portfolio publicly for my community. And we made 126% return on capital employed in 2022, 105% in 2023. And so far this year, we are up about $14,000. And this is on a $30,000 portfolio. So we're up closer to 50%. So we're kind of on track here. And we're winning about 75% of our trades. And you might think that's luck, but no, it's not. I've been doing it for ages. It's actually based on a very, very simple premise, which is 3 rules, full automation. So once we set up the trade, we don't need to look at it ever again. Doesn't that sound nice? So I do this like 2 or 3 hours a week. And if you want to learn the exact setup that I use, and I'm going to run a live trading training for you on Tuesday evening Eastern time at 8 p.m. Come and join me. It'll be fun. You will learn this. I'll give it to you. There'll be handouts and the whole thing you will have, and you'll be able to walk away with that full core knowledge here. So come and join me. felixfriends.org/webinar. See you Tuesday evening. Now, which stock am I talking about here today? Well, yes, you guessed it, right? Apple. Now, Apple Intelligence is the new launch here. What can it really do? Well, think of it as your digital assistant ready to help you with everything you want to do every day. Well, almost everything. What can it actually do? So Siri got smarter. It can handle more complex stuff like, I want to find that recipe my friend sent me a little while ago. It knows things like, how long will it take for Winston to climb up a certain mountain to get to his favorite beach? And it'll also remember context and follow-up questions. It can summarize long emails. If you've got somebody who sends you really long ones or documents or just messages, just give you the bullet points. It'll make your writing better. It can check your grammar and your tone. It can generate images for you, and you can search photos and just saying, hey, where was that picture of Winston chewing that shoe the other day? And you'll be able to find it. And personalized emojis. I don't really know the value of that, but I know some people really, really are into that. And then you might be thinking, but I'm not going to hand over all my data to those bastards at OpenAI. And yes, Apple gets that. So they are not actually interested in collecting your data to sell you stuff. They already have all your data. Basically focusing on privacy here, and most of the stuff you're going to be doing every day will actually happen on your phone. But if you're going to ask it to, cook Christmas dinner or something, and you ask for the recipes, it'll actually ask OpenAI. And that'll happen in private Apple servers. So they have control over your data. And even where they do send data to OpenAI, they're not allowed to store that data. Now, exactly how that works in reality is a different story, but I'm looking at this not as a user, but as an investor, right? So what's the big picture here? Well, Apple Intelligence isn't just sort of a fancy feature thing. It's about making technology work for you rather than the other way around. And by weaving AI into the very fabric of your iPhone and iPad and Mac and everything else, app will create a more intuitive experience that people are actually going to want to use. It's the kind of AI, your mum is happy to use, because what they're doing is they're combining Apple design and sort of speed and efficiency and everything else with what is at present the best LLM out there, which is ChatGPT. So they're not saying we're going to build the next ChatGPT and spend trillions on that like Elon is and Google is and a bunch of other companies. They're just saying, no, we're just partnering with it. And you might think that's them giving up an edge, but actually, when you look at the numbers, quite the opposite is true. So let me walk you through it. ChatGPT will hook directly into Siri, Messages, and any other apps that want to use it. And it has an insane knowledge level. And I like that Apple isn't reinventing the wheel. They're not going as a competitor, potentially, who's made something really great. Let's spend a load of effort and try and catch up. No, they're just integrating it. They're leveraging OpenAI's experience and knowledge. And it positions Apple as a sort of an AI aggregator. So you get a curated selection of the best AI tools out there while Apple protects your data. That's the win-win proposition here. Now, how does this work into numbers? We'll get into that just a moment. But if you think about it from OpenAI's point of view, well, they get access to a massive, massive Apple user base. And they could potentially upsell that user base some ChatGPT Plus premium subscription, right? So what is in it for Apple? Well, we don't know the details of the partner. But if you recall how Google pays Apple every single year about $20 billion to be the go-to search engine on iPhones. That's $20 billion of basically pure profit for Apple. I imagine this deal is going to work out something in a somewhat similar fashion. So the more people are using this, I'm sure the more Apple gets paid. And OpenAI's got money. They can raise as much money as they want. They're going to become a for-profit company. And they are already paying publishers a lot of money. Imagine how much they're going to be willing to be like the #1 AI app on Apple devices. Well, at the same time, though, Apple announced, and this is the smart part, that these AI features are limited to iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. And any future phone which runs on basically Apple's A17 chip, the iPad Pro, and we presume the next iPhone 18, which is probably going to come out later this year, right? So why does this matter? Well, 2024 has been an amazing year for Samsung because they came out with this phone here. And it is the S24. So the largest smartphone manufacturer in the world is no longer Apple, it is now Samsung. Why? Because that phone is actually very good and it's powered by tons of AI features, which is why a lot of people bought it. So their sales of phones, Samsung's, in the first 3 weeks of availability were up monstrously, 52% year over year. And overall, their sales are up like 8% or something this year. Now, Apple sits on 1.2 billion iPhone users. If they can incentivize just 25% of those to upgrade, that would be 300 million new iPhone sales. So your revenue being sluggish is no longer an issue. But I actually don't care that much about it. I only see iPhones as a piece of hardware needed to grow Apple's service revenue. At the moment, Apple gets 25% of its revenue from services. But the service revenue has doubled the margin compared to hardware sales. So Apple is pretty close to generating half of its profits from services. Making AI accessible to users who are put off by ChatGPT's sort of techie, nerdy interface sounds like just the sort of thing that Apple is actually very good at. And they can later allow Google's LLM access as well and anybody else who comes up with a really, really great AI app and collect more fees for access to its user base from Google and others. So to me, it's a sure win for Apple, the service company. And it'll allow Apple to return its earnings growth to the mid and high double digits and catch up with Google and Microsoft and Amazon, who are already there. So the stock here is trading and trailing nvidia and Google and Microsoft and Amazon and other tech peers by a very, very wide margin. I'll put a chart on the screen here for you so you can see it. I personally see a 50 to 100% upside here. That's not financial advice, just an old banker sharing his thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, then share it with a friend and smash the you-know-what, and make sure you come and join us on Tuesday. Learn how we're making these returns. Learn how we're doing it in a couple of hours a week, how beginners can do it, how we automate the whole thing, and let's have some fun. See you on Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern time. felixfriends.org/webinar. I'll see you then. Winston here just asked me, Felix, which of the AI stocks do you think is going to 10x? What's the biggest opportunity? And then he had to lie down because it was serious.